Hey everyone, I wanted to go ahead and change the water pump on my 1969 Mercury 800. This is a 4-cylinder, 80 horsepower Thunderbolt ignition. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the water pump down inside here. I like to change it once a year. Haven't done it this year, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We've got a few bolts to do. We've got this guy here that needs to come off. One here. There's one also on the opposite side of the motor, same location. There's going to be two up under the trim tab here, and then there is one bolt that holds the trim tab on, which you access here. Now mine is with a 3/8 Allen key. I've heard some of them are a little bit different, but that's what mine is. So that's what I'm going to use to get that off. And I believe the rest are all 5/8 nuts. Now to start, we've got the boat completely in forward. That's going to help us get it back in without misaligning the shift linkage. So stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and get that done. I'll get this old lower unit out so we can see what's in there. And real quick, I did misspeak. So we've got the stud up here, 1 5/8 on either side of the motor here. The 2 5/8 are down here. And there is 1 9/16 up under the anode trim tab that's held on by that 3/8 stud, just for clarification. So I've got the 9/16 out here. Gonna remove these 2 5/8. Then I'll loosen these evenly, and that'll allow me to pull the lower off. And unfortunately, one of those studs came out. So here you'll see me attempting to remove the nut from the stud. This is from the middle 2 studs there that were kind of near the anode. And a little bit of heat is what ended up allowing me to take this off. And then I blue Loctited it back in using a double nut method to tighten it. Okay, so the water pump came off. It actually brought the impeller with it this time. First time that's ever happened to me. Normally I have to get a little pry bar under there and just kind of pop this guy up. So it really doesn't look too bad, but we're gonna go ahead and swap everything. We can't forget to lose, I believe it's called a Woodrow key. It's got a little groove. This is what actually fits into a flat spot on the shaft here, and a little groove inside the water pump, or the impeller I should say, and that's what keeps it spinning with the shaft, so the shaft doesn't spin inside of it. The other thing we want to pay attention to here is the direction of the fins. So the way this guy went on meant the shaft was turning in a clockwise rotation when you're looking from the top. So when we go to put the new one on, there's a trick to get it on there and make sure the fins are going in the right direction. So we've got our new impeller kit here. This is a Quicksilver 4696148 Q8. You can also use an A8. I learned the other day, one is Mercury stock, the other is Quicksilver stock for more retail locations. Same thing, doesn't make a difference. So we're gonna open this up and we're gonna get it on there. So remember what I said, the shaft actually rotates in a clockwise rotation. So what I'm gonna do on the new housing here, I put a little bit of grease on it, just makes it go a little bit easier. Some people might hate me for it, some people might love the trick, but it just helps it kind of get into there a little bit easier. It doesn't really matter what kind of grease, because all you really want is just a thin film. So I just kind of run my finger along the inside of it, and then I just make sure I wipe up anything extra. So really all I can see in there is just mostly a slickness appearance. Now when I go to put this on, I'm going to carefully drop it over the top here, bring it down, and once I get it aligned on the studs, I'm going to take the shaft and I'm going to start to rotate it in that clockwise rotation as I push down. Now by doing that, I know all those fins are aligned in the correct direction. So there you have it. As you can see, the lower is back on. Everything's still in gear. I was able to double nut that stud to get it back in. I put a little bit of blue Loctite on it just to hopefully keep it there this time. The trim tab, mine always has to be canted pretty far to the right. Differs on every boat and motor. That's just what makes my steering the easiest. But there is a little bit of adjustment in there with that 3/8 bolt. Everything else is tight. As you saw, I use these two. I make sure that I'm getting it in by moving the crankshaft flywheel, and you want to make sure you're always turning it clockwise, otherwise you'll flip the fins on the impeller. So you move it clockwise as you're slowly getting that guy up in there. Once you know it's going in there correctly, you should have about 3/8 to 1/4 inch of gap right here. Then you can use these bolts to draw it in the rest of the way if it's a little stubborn. I put a little bit of grease on the end of the splines just to make it a little bit easier, but it's always kind of a pain. So there it is. And next time I do any more maintenance, I'll bring that to you guys as well. All right, have a great day.